Welcome to part 6 of my build a Tardis tutorial in Google Sketchup. I apologise to anybody who's been following this tutorial. It's been a while since I did part 5, and today we're going to attempt to do the handles on the doors. I found an image on a Peter Davison story called Fall to Doomsday. You can see it's just a fairly basic handle, and this is what we're going to try and make, or we will make, I should say. Right, so I've started by loading the model in from part 5 and zooming in on the centre part of the doors, and we're going to start by creating a couple of guides. So first guide is from this edge here to the centre of this panel here, which is 35 millimeters. And another guide from this top edge here down the same face to the centre line of the panel again, which is going to be 190. We then need to create another guide up from this centre line, and that's going to be 82.5 millimeters. We'll also need a centre line on this panel, which is going to be at 15. Right, so we'll zoom in on this main work area here, where we're going to start to make the handle. First of all, we're going to start with the circle tool, and on the intersection of these two guides we're going to draw a circle that is 7.5 radius. We are then going to create a rectangle from this edge on the centre line, and it's going to be 32.5 by 15. We need to remove some unwanted lines from this, and that's going to be this circle here and this line here. Don't worry about that guide being deleted, we probably aren't going to need it again. So we're going to use the push-pull tool to pull out this shape, and we want to pull it out by 5 millimeters. And this is going to be the base of our screw plate for the handle. By the way, this handle is called, looked online, the design of this handle is called a hotbed pull handle, of which if you look online you'll find various examples of it. Right, okay, we're going to now zoom in a bit closer. We're going to make our first screw hole. So again, the circle tool, but first of all, made a mistake there. We need to create a centerline guide on this surface. So from there, 7.5. Okay, now we go back to the circle tool. Reference this edge here, and then go to the center line and produce a circle which is going to be 5 radius. Then you need to use a push-pull tool to push that in by 2 millimeters, and then we're going to use the offset tool to offset this bottom circle by 0.5 millimeter, 0.5, and then use the push-pull tool to pull that back out again by 2 millimeters. And this is going to be our screw hole and screw head. We need to add another couple of guides. So from this centre line, we want to do a guide that's 0.5 millimeter over, 0.5, and the same the other way, 0.5. And if we zoom in on this circle, this screw head, pan down a bit, we're going to use the line tool now to mark out the slot where the screwdriver would have tightened up the screws. So a line down there and a line down there. Now if you use a push-pull tool, push that surface in by 1mm. And we now have a screw hole with a screw head. To make it more natural looking, we're going to rotate the screw around to just some sort of random angle. So first of all we need to select it all. There we go. And we need to make sure that all the surfaces are selected. So as you can see, this one isn't. It's not dotted, and neither is that one. Let's just check to make sure all the others are done. So we'll tilt it around. Oops. Tilt. There we go. Yeah, they're all selected. Now with the rotation tool, again reference this edge here across to the middle, then up the centre line, and then just rotate it round at a random angle. There we go. And then okay, there we go, that's random angle, that's the first screw done. We now need to make a copy of this and drag it down to make the second screw. So we go to the move tool, hold the control key down in the centre line here to start to drag it down and make a copy, and we want to move it down by 15. Zoom out, and there's our two screws. I'm going to just rotate this one to a slightly different angle so it looks a bit more natural. So pan up and zoom in, and again we want the rotate tool, reference the edge here, and then go to the centre and up the centre line, and then just rotate it around to some other sort of random angle. That's fine. There you go. And then pan around, zoom out, and that's our first plate made with the screws in it. We're going to now make a copy of this, so we need to select it all. Then select the move tool. If we move it from this intersection between the centre line and the bottom edge, hold the control key down and drag, we'll make a copy of it, and we need to move it down by 100. Okay, let's pan up. There we go. Okay, that's in the right position, but it's in the wrong. We need to rotate it around by 180 degrees so it faces the opposite way round. So get the rotation tool, we'll align it with the intersection of the centre line and the bottom edge, go up the centre line, start to rotate it, and we want to rotate it round by 180 degrees. Okay, that's done. Zoom out, and there we have our first two screw plates, which we're now going to form the handle on. So if we zoom in on the top plate, and we're going to make the cross section of the handle. So first of all we're going to add another guide from this bottom edge, and that wants to be 10 from the bottom edge. Now we need to go to the arc tool and start on this corner here and this corner here, and then we'll produce a semicircle, so that will be 7.5. If you look at the handle in the photo, it isn't sort of semicircular, it's more half elliptical, half an oval shape. So we're going to scale this handle, this semicircle, to make it into a sort of an oval type shape. So first of all we select it, then go to the scale tool, and then scale it from this edge upwards until it snaps to the 10mm line. that is our cross section of our handle. We now need to make a guide for the handle to follow. So first of all, we need to tilt it around a little bit more for this, and start off with the pen tool, and from this intersection here on the bottom edge in the center line, we need to draw a line on the green axis 15mm long. We now need to create an arc on the end of this line, so go to our arc tool, let's go to the end of the line and start to create the arc along the blue axis, and that wants to be 40 diameter. And then on the green axis, this is a little bit tricky because it's hard to get it to go in the green direction. There we go. Let's get to go in the green direction, and that wants to be 20. So if we zoom out, that's our first arc, and we need to do the same on the lower handle plate. So pan up and do the same on the lower handle plate. So we'll zoom in, pen tool first, and go on the green axis, 15 long. Now we need to use the arc tool from the end of this line, and on the blue axis, and that must be 40, and on the green axis 20. If we zoom out, pan down a little bit, and that's the shape we have so far. Make sure they're lined up. Yes, they are. Okay. Now we need to use the pen tool to create a line from the apex of this curve to the apex of this curve here, and we need to remove the lines that we don't want. So go to the erase tool and delete this arc and this arc, and that's the shape we want the handle cross section to follow. So start by selecting the lines. Make sure you select only the lines and not anything else. So hold the shift key down, select all the lines that follow along the path, and then we need to go to the follow me tool, select the profile of the handle, and there we have our first handle made. Okay, we need to group this handle now so it becomes one object. So select all of it, and then edit group. That's our first handle made. We now need to make a copy of this handle and move it over to the telephone door. So again, we select the move tool, hold the control key down, line up on this center line that's on the door panel and the bottom edge of the handle, and start to move it and make sure it's moving along the red axis, and it should snap to the center line, and then let go. Okay, now if I zoom out, deselect and delete all guides, and there we have our Tardis handle, one on the door and one on the telephone door.